Hello, in this video we will be looking at Prospero. What is Prospero? Prospero is really an eventing mechanism. The way the eventing mechanism works is System A will want to listen to System B. In order for System A to listen to System B, System A needs to subscribe to System B. Once System A has done that, System B can go ahead and publish messages onto Prospero, and System A will receive callbacks from Prospero. So you may be wondering, how does the underlying handling really work? Well, we'll get into that later. What you need to know from a high-level perspective is Prospero is really just a RESTful wrapper that's written in Erlang on top of RabbitMQ, which is also written in Erlang, which means that a Unix system can go ahead and have Erlang installed on it, and you can go ahead and start interpreting Prospero messages. You can go ahead and start interpreting RabbitMQ code as well as Prospero code, but they are two separate services. So how does Prospero really work? The way Prospero, in order to answer that question, we really should be looking at the integration guide. If I were to look for the integration guide, I can just go to Google and type in Pearson Prospero, and the first link for me will show code.pearson.com, and I can go and go to that site, and sure enough, we'll see the Pearson producing messages Prospero integration guide. Now, what this integration guide will tell you is the API in order to interact with Prospero. So the things listed here are tags, authentication, authorization, consuming, and producing, as well as subscription creation, deletion, and reading. That's all you really need to know in order to deal with Prospero. Let's take a look at tags, since that's the most important. The way tags work, it's really a key-value pair that's comma delimited. The key and value are separated by a colon. So here we'll have the system as a key and A1 as the value. In this, we'll have three key value sets. Each set will have three key value pairs. Each key value pair has a colon separating them and a comma delimiting them. When we take a look at this set of tags right here, we'll see that message type is a key, user ID is a key, and course ID is a key. Whereas M1 is a value, U1 is the value, and C1 is a value. And these values correspond to their appropriate keys. So now that we know what context tags are, we can go ahead and sort of take a look at how I can actually subscribe to a particular to a particular system's tags. So if we go back to the integration guide and take a look at subscription creation. In subscription creation, you'll see these sets of variables listed as message type, client string, client, system, subsystem, and tags. What's really important to note here is that you have a callback URL. What this callback URL does is it gives you a handle for Prospero to do an HTTP post on a RESTful consumer to say, this is where I want you to send my callback, my HTTP post. The rest are really just tags. Subsystem's a tag, system's a tag, client string's a tag, client's a tag, and message type is also a tag. That's why all of these are optional, because they can all really be encapsulated by this tags element, which is not optional. So in order for me to really create a subscription, all I really need is a callback URL and its corresponding tags. And once I do create the subscription, it'll look something like this. This is a response from Prospero, which will tell me, okay, the subscription was created successfully. In order for me to verify, I can just take a look at these tags here and be like, system is message generator, subsystem is simulator. You can see that this is part of the tags, even though they are optional elements here. Which probably means when somebody created the subscription, they did an HTTP post and put in two tags with system is subsystem and, with system is message generator and subsystem is simulator. So that would be in a tags block in a key value pair set. And you can also see that their callback URL they've set to their localhost 4567. That's really not preferred because for our installation of Prospero, Prospero really runs nothing locally aside from itself and RabbitMQ. So make sure to give a resolvable URL in that address. And what's going to happen when I go ahead and actually create the subscription? Well, in order to answer that question, you really need to dig through the weeds for Prospero code. But you can sort of figure it out if you go to RabbitMQ's tutorial site. When you take a look at this, you'll be like, huh, RabbitMQ has an underlying publish subscribe model. But their publish subscribe model doesn't exactly work the same way you would expect a very similar pub sub model to work in the topical sense. What RabbitMQ really does is it works in exchanges. You don't actually interact when you're a producer of a message or a publisher of a message. You don't actually interact with the queue itself. What you do is you're actually interacting with the exchange. So now that we've talked about subscription creation, let's talk about how to actually push messages onto Prospero. Go back to the integration guide, and we can look at producing messages. How to publish messages via RESTful HTTP. Look at that. In order to publish messages to Prospero, you just need to do an HTTP post with the following variables. So all you really need are these variables would be in the body of the HTTP post, and they would most likely be application URL encoded. And once you do that, you can start talking with Prospero. So if you have all these values, all these keys in your your parameter set in your HTTP post, you can talk to Prospero really, really well. One thing to note here is the payload can actually be a string, which is a very ubiquitous type of payload, or a binary set for binary payloads. An octet string is the official term for binary payloads. Now, in order to really talk to Prospero, one thing we've been glancing over is this authorization tag. What does it mean to authorize your messages, both subscriptions, consumptions, and creates? When we look at the integration guide, we can go to the authentication and authorization section, and this will actually give you some code that'll tell you this is how you create an authorization. For our purposes, we already have this code in library, so we're not going to touch on them too much. You just have to know that a Prospero instance will generate a principal for you, and that principal can be used to authenticate and authorize your messages, both consumption and production. So now that we've looked at producing messages, what does consuming a message mean? So message consumption is really an implementation of an HTTP post, either URL encoded or multi-part form data for binary streams. For most of what we do, we basically use URL encoded, a URL encoded form. So what that means is Prospero will actually do an HTTP post, and in the message body, what it'll send us is a message ID, a message type, a delivery attempt, an authorization, a payload content type, and then the payload itself. Along with all of that, you'll also see the HTTP responses that you should return to Prospero, indicating something has to be done. What's really interesting about this is the 412 and 416 will give you some levels of control to tell Prospero, hey, I don't want the message again, or I do want you to give me the message again, or go ahead and delete the message. Something of that nature. So a 200 will basically say, I've got the message, it can be dequeued. A 412 will say, the message was not consumable, but it should not be requeued. And a 416 will say, the message was not consumable and the subscription was used to write the message to the consumer should be deleted. So, this one will really allow you to manage your messages very, very distinctly. All the other ones will do a lot of management within Prospero. All right, so that in itself is Prospero in a nutshell. Thanks for watching, and join the next video for more.